Hey, it's me again, back to talk about some more little orchestra things. And today I want to run you through a nifty little integration we have called approvals. So first of all, I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what we consider the approval integration to be and to do. And then I'll just show you a short example of one way you might use it. But obviously how you put it to use in your pipelines is completely up to you. So what is the approval integration? Well, you can think of it a little bit as like a human in the loop step that you can add to the middle of your pipelines, or like a gate. So that as your DAG or pipelines process all of your data and do loads of fancy things, you can add in a step that kind of says, hey, at this point, we might want to do something a little differently. Can you check with this person that it's okay first? And this could be for a number of reasons, really. It could be that you've received some output from an AI step that you want to then validate before continuing with, or somebody could be trying to run a really intense process that you want to get a manager's approval for before you allow it to run. You know, those kind of things that you want a bit of control over, like high spend, high compute utilization, or just like sensitive phrasing and like things that you want to cast a second eye on before you just let them get processed. So with that, what does the integration kind of look like? So if we go to the docs, we can have a quick look through at what the schema looks like. So you can see, as you'd expect, there is a message. Obviously, as with any orchestra pipeline, you can use the output of upstream tasks to fill in this message and use all sorts of templating. So it's not just a static message that you only set once. A list of approvers. These are obviously the ones who are going to yes, no, this step in the DAG. And this can be a list of like email addresses or Slack tags at the moment, but kind of whatever you use to identify people uniquely. At the moment though, the only supported integration is Slack, which I guess most people probably use, so this is quite a nice little interaction point. So you could consider the approvers a list of either their Slack IDs, or if you have a fully federated access setup, it probably is their work email address as well. If you don't have Slack or anywhere you'd like to send these messages at the moment, you can still use this task. It will just pop up in the pipeline with the yes, no buttons available for you anyway. So no worries if you don't have Slack at this point in time. So with that, let's jump into a bit of an example. Now, the example I'm going to use is a case that I guess quite a lot of people are familiar with, where perhaps you want to run a full refresh in DBT. So here is my very basic DBT pipeline, and I'll just walk you through how it's set up and then how this flow would work with the approval step. So all this does is runs a simple DBT task that takes a pipeline input of my arguments and runs DBT build. Nothing too crazy. If we look at my pipeline inputs at the moment, all I've got is the fail fast argument. Again, nothing mad. But the part that we are interested in here is the approval step. So let's have a look at how that's configured. So in here, all I have is my name for the step, a brief message. In this case, I'm saying DBT has been triggered with full refresh set. Would you like to approve this? I've got myself down as an approver, and it's going to go to Slack. But as I said, it's also going to show up in the UI anyway, so we'll see it right in front of us. And what this allows us to do is if somebody has kicked off this pipeline with full refresh set, it will notify me and ask for my approval before I allow that to go through into DBT run. So you can imagine if you're leading a team of lots of analytics engineers and they have the autonomy to run the pipelines when they need to, but then occasionally they're going to want to submit a full refresh job, and you might want to double check that that's well specified before you allow it to run. So for example, you want full refresh state modified, or full refresh and then a tag selector, rather than just full refreshing your entire project all at once. So let's kick this off and see how it works. In our first case, we're obviously going to kick it off without setting the full refresh flag, just to ensure that this passes through to DBT as we'd expect. Awesome. Now, as you can see, without full refresh set, it's just skipped the approval step and the pipeline has run as normal. All good. But now what happens if we kick this off again with dbt's full refresh flag in our arguments? So we're going to trigger the pipeline again, but this time with -- full refresh in our dbt args, and hopefully our approval step this time is going to raise an alert and say, hey, you're going to need approval from this, from myself, before this pipeline continues. And there it is. As you can see, we've got to this part in the pipeline and it's popped up saying, hey, this needs approval. So I can dig into the details if I want to and have a look a bit more about what's been passed in here, look at the messages. So I can see that it says it's been triggered with full refresh, and then I can either approve or deny this request. If I click reject, this whole pipeline is just going to stop here. If I click approve, we're going to let dbt run with full refresh. So let's do it. And even when this happens, you can log an extra little comment here, just so that you can go back and make sure you know why that was allowed to go through. So looks good to me. Approve. And the next task in our pipeline will continue. So that's pretty much all there is to know about approval steps, and obviously there's a bunch of different ways you'll be able to use these, whether it's for approving either full refreshes or large runs or whatever you really want it to do. I will just run through one key step in the pipeline I have here, is that the downstream trigger conditions are changed to say whether or not this is successful or skipped. You may want to run this, but it will show up as failed when I've not approved it, so that still wouldn't run in that scenario. It just means when there's no check, the downstream is still going to run. So in order to only trigger this approval request when full refresh is set, if we come up here to my trigger conditions, you'll notice that I'm checking that it is involved in the dbt args before that step even runs. And that's it. Nice and easy to use, easy to get used to, and add lots and lots of control to your DAGs for dangerous steps. So thanks. Let us know if you have any questions or suggestions, and see you next time.